Hey guys, Michael here with Gaming for Immersion. Back when I was a kid and I used to ride my bike along with my friends, we used to have this expression, "Look, Mom, no hands." Now, I don't know if that's a universal thing. Maybe kids still do that. I don't even know if kids still ride bikes anymore these days. But I almost entitled this video, "Look, Ma, no mouse clicks," because this is me running around through Last Epoch here, almost never even doing so much as clicking my mouse. I'm kind of mostly running in straight lines, although I will occasionally run in circles. I do at least try to avoid standing in the very obvious danger zones. But for the most part, I'm just running straight through these zones, allowing my minions here to kill everything for me. And there's a lot of fun, actually, to be had in Last Epoch. I don't want this to be interpreted as me ranting about the game. I think this game has so much potential, and I actually think it's fairly close. There's a couple of things that I think are holding it back, but for the most part, I think that there's absolutely an awful lot of potential in this game, and not even just potential. There's an awful lot of fun to be had even right now in the current state of it. Having said all that, I think that I'm in probably the same situation as a lot of other folks in that I was playing Path of Exile 2, and that game needs a fair amount of work. Again, that's another one that I think has an awful lot of potential. I think it's a little bit further away from reaching the potential than I was expecting it to be at this stage in its life cycle. So I think I'm like a lot of other people where I kind of got tired of the current state of Path of Exile 2. I will come back to it as they continue to improve it. But decided, since obviously the second season here of Last Epoch launched, and I own the game, and it's free to play the new season, of course, once you already own the game. So yeah, decided to go ahead and jump into this one, give this one a try, and boy, is it radically different. So I will start out this video by saying that I think a really important element of video games is a sense of challenge. I realize it's an AARPG and it's all about, mass wiping entire screenfuls of enemies out, picking up loot. It's more about the end game than it is about the campaign. I get all that, and I don't want to suggest that I disagree with it. I do think that the campaign should be at least an enjoyable experience, particularly if you have to run through it with every single character that you create. And that's really the fun of a game like this, is the build craft, is the creating of more and more characters and trying out different play styles. And as long as the game stays fun, running back through the campaign and getting into the early and mid late end games, you don't mind a little bit of the grind in terms of going back through the same content all over again, trying it out, with just the different perspective of a different class, using different skills or whatever. So I'm not going to try to make the argument that I'm in any way a great player. In fact, that's kind of the point of this video. So I guess maybe I've beaten around the bush long enough, which is one thing that's holding Last Epoch back right now is that there's just no challenge to it. This is hardcore that I'm playing right here. I hadn't played this game in months. I remembered it not being all that hard to begin with, although I kind of remember it being harder than this. But anyway, I heard that I think that's the Paladin right now is the absolute meta. So I didn't want to play that because I don't really like playing meta builds. I don't really like using build guides, so I've just created this character as a necromancer. I figured it'd be fairly simple and straightforward to learn, kind of refamiliarize myself with the game. I shouldn't say learn it, because I did play it back in the day. But refamiliarize myself with the game with a relatively easy build, and obviously a minion build is a relatively easy one. So I went ahead and gave myself this one direct damage spell, this curse that I can cast on my own, but pretty much everything else on my bar is just summoning minions and letting the minions do most of the work. I have a traversal skill there as well, but I don't ever use it. I think pretty much the only time I'm doing mouse clicks in all of the, I think I do like 3 zones here for this recording. I think the only time I ever do mouse clicks is to pick up loot, and most of it you don't even have to mouse click. Most of it you pick up automatically. And to me, this is less than ideal. I think coming from the heightened challenge of PoE2, let's say, depending on what your build is and what part of the game you're in PoE2, it can be a rather challenging game. And I will say I prefer a challenging experience. So that's where I'm coming from here in this video. So I prefer the challenge of basically forcing you to become a better player, timing your dodges, learning how to, obviously the build craft is in and of itself a skill. And I, even though this was a simple build to come up with and I didn't look at a build guide, I am thinking about the build as I level up, at least to a certain extent, as much as you really have to when you're deciding, all I want to do is add more skeletons to my minion pool here. But anyway, other than the time that I take, the time it takes to come up with a build is important. You again, it's the build craft that's fun, and this is a game that does build craft really, really well. I just love the fact that you don't have to look up a build guide. You can take the time, learn what the synergies are for your particular class and preferred play style, and you can come up with a build on your own that works pretty well. So that's really the strength of this game. Well, one of the strengths of this game. I absolutely love the inventory system in this game. I like being able to use in-game gold to get more stash tabs. I really like the crafting in this game. I really think that there's some important lessons here that I wish other games like PoE would learn about how to do some of those really nice quality of life things like the inventory system and the crafting. There's absolutely a lot to like here. It's fun even just doing what I'm doing here, which is running around and letting my minions kill everything for me. Having said all that, it's going to get old quick. I've probably spent less than 4 or 5 hours here in last Epoch since I came back into it. But anyway, so 4 or 5 hours in, it's still fun to walk around just like slaughtering everything that you run across. But it's going to get old pretty quick, because if all you have to do is walk through the zones, not ever even have to worry about dodging, really, don't really have to worry about timing of anything, you don't really have to worry about too much of anything, honestly. The only thing I'm worrying about is making sure I don't stand in the purple circles when they pop up beneath my feet. It's a potentially great experience that is being held back by the fact that it's too early, and that's really, or too easy. That's really the whole point of this video. There's a lot to like here. I understand people coming from the challenge of PoE2, which is probably an excessive amount of challenge in the current state of the game right now, and feeling like this is a breath of fresh air. But unless I'm just, I was going to say, unless I'm completely out of touch, and I don't know, maybe I am completely out of touch, I just have to think that your average video gamer is going to get tired of something being this easy pretty quickly. So, as I fight these sort of mini boss mobs and do one circle around them, again, no mouse click, it's just, there's just something lacking here. So the reason I'm kind of doing this video is maybe this can provide some input to EHG, who I think are doing a good job. Obviously, small studio. They're not going to make a game with as much polish as GGG is doing right now, or Blizzard, obviously with Diablo. And there's many, many things to like about this game, more so than Diablo 4. Yeah. Anyway, the experience overall is just leaving a little bit to be desired, because I'm enjoying the nostalgia of getting back into it. What I'm not really enjoying is any sense of accomplishment, because it doesn't really take any. Now, I'm sure that when you get into the end game, it'll start to get more challenging. Again, particularly since I'm not using a build guide, so this is not going to be anywhere near min-maxed by the time I get there. I'm playing hardcore, so I will eventually die. But if they want people to go back through the campaign over and over again, and I realize there's parts of the campaign that you can skip, but still, for the most part, you've got to go back through chunks of this campaign with every character. There's a subset of us out there. I don't know how many of us there are. I wouldn't want to hazard a guess as to how many gamers are like me, but there's a subset of us that are going to get bored really quickly because there's no sense of challenge here. So again, just another voice that I wanted to provide, a community voice here. See if anybody agrees with me. If you completely disagree with me, hey, go ahead and have at it. And I know there will be people who do. Make your voice heard in the comment, because there's value in that from EHG. It could be that this game is intended to be this easy, and it's just not for me. And it's not for people like me who like a sense of challenge. But that's worth finding out. So if you completely disagree with me, you like the current level of challenge in the game right now, I think it's helpful for EHG to hear comments like that, so that they know, okay, the majority of people really do like this level of challenge. Ignore this idiot who's talking about trying to make the game more challenging. But for what it's worth, my input is I think that the game would be improved with just a simple ramping up a little bit of the challenge here. Leave the crafting and the inventory and so many other aspects of this game the way they are, because those things are great, but I just feel like there should be more to the gameplay than what we're getting right now, mainly in the sense of the sense of accomplishment that you should be able to get for taking on a really tough boss. There's a dopamine hit that you get for taking on a really tough boss in PoE2, and if you die a couple of times, but you learn how to approach it better the next time and the time after that, and then you finally take them down. I mean, that's what so many of these games are all about, right? Is that dopamine hit that you get after finally accomplishing something that had been a real challenge for you at first. So that is currently lacking in this game. I feel like I shouldn't be able to create my first two characters in Season 2 in a hardcore mode, and just kind of walk through the content. It's just kind of there ought to be a little bit more to it than that. All right. Anyway, so hopefully y'all get the idea. I appreciate that you have listened to me this long. Those of you who still have, because it did kind of turn into a little bit of a freestyle rant here. Again, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I hate the game. Like I said, I think there's so much potential here, and there's, even in the current state, there's a lot to like. I certainly don't want to discourage anybody else from playing this game. If you're having fun with it, play games the way that you like to. If you're having fun with it, don't listen to what anybody like me has to say. Enjoy it for what it's worth. But I do think that there's going to be a subset of us out there who are going to play this, and we're going to basically feel like, okay, this is just way too easy. This is not what I'm looking for in an AARPG. The loot is great, but getting the loot is leaving a little bit to be desired. Okay, all right. I've rambled on long enough. Thanks everybody for listening, and I will see you all in the next video.